That's how I could have got into the swimming side of things, because I wanted to keep doing something.
Yeah.
And then, but I was like, what's like the least abusive of your body? And swimming was kind of it, to a degree, because obviously now I'm getting to the point where like my shoulders are hurting, and it's all slowly starting.
Cumulative stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like Jordan was saying yesterday about, he was wanting me to get my shoulder rotation higher.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I'm still like, he was kind of saying you're still almost like coming forward like that.
Yeah.
Which he was like, it's just kind of unnecessary. And I think he explained it a bit better than that, but in my head, that's kind of what I took it. You said you kind of want to just have it as that one sweep of motion.
Yeah. Nice and easy overhead swing. Yeah.
Yeah. But look, I appreciate you giving me your hours in your Saturday. I have a literal list of questions if you're willing to entertain me.
Well, you go.
As you could probably imagine. So the last time I chatted to you, I don't know if you got this impression. I'd be interested if you did, where I had kind of just dipped my toe into it. So I signed up for it, paid my deposit, kind of got the main thing sorted, like the boat, the rest of that.
Yeah.
But I'd not really gone into like a proper swimming training plan. And so I probably had questions that I had then were probably more just like the questions that someone who has never really been involved in something like this would have.
Whatever I got myself into.
You were saying anything, and I was like oohing and ahhing at everything. I was like, wow. Whereas now I'm kind of into it a little bit more with the training. I've probably got some more like actual specific, even like some probably like niche questions about what it is. But I think so. The first one I had, so we're obviously like here right now. How did you simulate open water conditions? Like training here, like because obviously were you training in the pool, or how did you do it?
I've always been I grew up on a lake in the summertime.
Right, okay.
So I was always in the water, and we'd swim with whatever conditions. But then, so that was 2016. And by that time I'd already had 15 years of like Ironman training. So you do a lot of, and we used to live in Calgary, but there's a few lakes around Calgary that you could swim in, but also swam out the Okanagan a lot. So both Ska High and Lake Okanagan. And then there's a couple of smaller ones that don't get too choppy, but I just made a point of getting into the water when it was not recommended, sort of deal.
Yeah,
right?
no.
So we used to run camps out in Penticton, and any time when it was rough, and you'd like swim early in the morning, it's typically pretty calm, right? But later in the day, the wind picks up coming down the lake, and then that's when we go swimming.
That's what you want, yeah. So that's what I've only swam on pool so far.
Yeah.
So I was chatting with Jordan about like if and when I should get into the open water, and he was like, yeah, like probably in like 2 or 3 weeks, like I need to get wetsuit and stuff like that as well. But yeah, I kind of was thinking of that, because the choppiest is generally this is the choppiest it's been for me in the pool is when, and it happened today, someone from like the general area pool has thrown a ball and it's hit me in the head.
Yeah.
Like that's like the most, like choppy conditions I've had.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've kind of like, I haven't had the open water like swimming background that you've had.
Yeah.
So maybe it sounds like you kind of already had like a lot of like experience with that. So you're probably wearing as inexperienced as I am just now with I've swam open water, but even then, when I did it for the Ironman, I swam in a quarry in Scotland, and it was honestly pretty calm most of the time.
Yeah.
The Ironman itself, like the conditions were choppy, but that's just because there was like hundreds, like I don't know how many people around me.
A lot of people around. Yeah.
Whereas this is like, there's that element of tides, and all that kind of jazz. So I guess, okay, so since you already kind of had a good amount of experience with
that. And I've always been comfortable in the water.
Yeah.
Like Jill's now got, I don't know how many Ironman underneath her belt, but she's still not comfortable in the water. She's not relaxed. So swimming is always a tough thing for her. And I don't know if, you haven't mentioned that it's disturbing to you. Like you're relatively comfortable in the water, right?
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of difference, because if something happens and you're already anxious, kind of compounds, right? Like a wave, or, if whitecaps or whatever, and those sorts of things can be disturbing if you're not comfortable already, right? So, but around here, like I would go, you can go Ghost Lake, is cold, which you're going to experience on the town, and it can get pretty rough. So, cause there's quite a bit of open area across the reservoir. It faces west, and it's got a lot of, that's, predominantly where the wind comes from. So you can get some fairly good stuff there, and the temperature. So that would be good to swim in that a few times for sure.
Yeah, I did, I'll relate to this, but I did maybe like a decade ago now, I did a surf school in Portugal for a week with a friend when I was like, probably more than a decade. I was young. And anyway, I also had that like young male like bravado of like, I was fit about, again, what I was saying before I started this was, I was like gym fit. Like I looked fit, but the muscles I had were like pure vanity. Like there was no like performance or function to them. So I say that to say, when we were like on the surf school, so you had to like surf right behind the waves to catch the waves when they came in.
Yeah.
That was like a brutal reality check to like, being in open water, not even that far from the beach, but like, because inevitably you wouldn't catch a wave, you fall in the water, you come up, you grab your boards, and then you turn around, and then there's already another, not even large, but the thing is, it's from your neck, as you obviously were swimming.
Yeah.
Like it's from your neck. So even if it's like a foot or so, like that's like, and that hits you, and then you're kind of like, so I'm okay in the water, but I premise it by saying I've been at a pool.
Yeah.
And I did do open water swimming, but again, it wasn't like, I did a triathlon at Barcelona. I was like, amazing. It effectively was pool conditions.
Yeah.
It was like 25 degrees, completely flat. Then obviously they go that far. I think we went like, like a couple of 100 meters maybe off the beach, go parallel to it back in.
Right.
So I do, that's kind of why I was asking like about your experience, because I want to get bashed around board before the swim. Yeah. So that when I am getting bashed around, hopefully not, but if it does occur, it's not the first time I've had it.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you've gotten to this point or not, but then you have to work, and we do this with our Ironman athletes, you have to make sure you have some calming techniques too. So in case you do get into trouble, because if you touch the boat, you're done, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to kind of self-regulate, if you will. So have some calming techniques practiced and like in your head and practice. So on your back or doing a breaststroke or whatever it is that's going to help you kind of get over any sort of, in quotes, panic attacks, right?
Yeah. So actually, sorry.
So that's something necessary, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So, and the channel's got jellyfish in it and stuff too, so you might get stung. So there's like when we did the crossing, 3 of the 6 of us got stung.
And how were they when they got stung? I haven't been stung by a jellyfish and like...
Oh yeah,
it's really bad.
Undoubtedly that you got stung. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, because I haven't been stung by a jellyfish since I was like, a very small child. So I remember it being sore, but I've got no concept of the pain because I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it is sore is what you're saying.
Yeah, they certainly reacted. Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah. And did it fade, or is it just...
It fades a little bit, I think. And it depends on how much longer you were in the water and what you were doing and all that sort of stuff too. But a couple of them were, there were a few expletives.
Yeah.
And then they just carried on, right? So
you can't do much. Yeah. Right, okay. And was jellyfish the only thing that you,
Yeah, that was jellyfish and nausea, seasickness were the 2 big ones that we don't know why, and it got rough. I can show you some.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, when we finish talking, I'll show you some, just give you an idea of what the conditions got. Like, they got bad enough that they almost pulled us out of the water. So that's, really stiff breeze and about 2-meter waves. So lots of up and downs, but depends on the luck of the draw, right? And that's the captain of your guide boat. That's his call, right? So,
do you remember who your captain was?
Yes, I do. But
you don't have to name it if you don't want to.
I can't remember.
Okay, I was going to say that.
Yeah,
can shed like bad experience.
He was really good, very sought after.
Yeah,
Ray.
There's not a lot of them.
No, I think there was when we did it. I think there were 6 or 8.
Yeah, I would let you
certified guys that could go.
Yeah,
they're certified by the Channel Swimming Association, and obviously have to be licensed and stuff. the guy that took us was a commercial fisherman, he and his brother. And they had kind of in the off season, they had these trips that they did. He's since bought a new boat and still does it. But, yeah, I'll find his name. I can give it to you. I might have it on me, but.
Yeah, the guy that I've got, I think it's Andy King, but he, and I was trying to, this like 6 months plus ago, when I was kind of like delving into the coaching. I think it was maybe just after we had chatted and stuff.
Okay.
I was reached out to a few coaches in the UK.
Yeah.
Cause for some reason, at that point I was looking at that side of things as opposed to Canada.
Yeah.
And anyway, I chatted to one guy who knew the captain and he's a great guy, great captain, but he said he'll go when the weather's like, if the weather's good to go, like he'll go. But I think he was implying that he's not going to sit and wait for it to make a load of sunshine. He was saying as soon as he thinks it's suitable, you know, like you'll be going.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you hire him for, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you know, it's up to him to decide that, okay, it's good enough to go. And it's, you know, I'm not putting the swimmer in jeopardy, nor am I putting his attempt in jeopardy, right? So that's what he gets paid for, right? So, you know, they won't go if it looks like, well, no, it's going to blow in and you're not going to make it sort of deal. That's not what you're paying for. So,
yeah. And I think, the next question I was going to ask was kind of ties in a little bit to this. So also what I think when we chatted last time, you told me that you started like 3 a.m. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never knew that at the time. I again came from like races, like an Ironman where it starts at 9 on a Saturday morning. So that was, when you said that, I was like, oh, like I never contemplated that would be the case or just didn't know. So did you do any like night swims here? Like
a couple. Yeah.
Did you? Yeah.
Yes. And I've swum at night before too. Yeah. So,
is that like,
but there's a bunch, like half the team was out of Penticton. So they did a couple of night swims.
And how do you do that with like, cause obviously, did you have someone in like a kayak next to you or something? All right, okay, so you had someone.
Yeah, and you have lights. Like during the attempt, you have to have lights on your cap and a light on your suit. And, we didn't have like a kayak beside us in the channel, but when we did, Catalina, we had a kayak like outside of us. So you're between the kayak and the boat and you're lit up and everybody, there's always spotters on the boat too. So
yeah, cause that's what I was thinking. I was I don't know how I would need to I actually have friends that do kayak and stuff here, but I guess I would just need to ask one of them like, hey, when it gets dark one night, do you want to
go for a little toodle?
Yeah, just go a little toodle. But I think and people think it's already bizarre that I'm doing this, that if I then involve them in a nighttime swim, I think they'll just be like, this guy's actually, I think he's actually sick. And then did you do any like other like cross training? So I've been doing,
well, I was full on Ironman training and just kind of added the swimming to it.
Oh, did you? Right, okay.
Yeah. 2016. I probably did one Ironman that year. And we did a bunch, you know, some shorter stuff too. But, I just sort of tagged it on because like you're doing, you know, sort of like the almost 4K in an Ironman, right? And we were only doing an hour at a time. So it's different for you, right? So we get a 5-hour break. If you can keep your
stomach,
if you can keep your stomach under control and stop and stay warm enough, that was a bit of a break. I actually enjoyed being in the water more so than being on a boat. But, so we all swam twice. The first 2 swam a third time.
And was that just that? I think you said it last time. That just happened to be their luck of the
just the way things. Yeah, because it's a timed, like you swim for an hour, and then you're bell rung, and then you get out and you switch, and then.
And is that because you did a relay? Is that the relay rules from the CSA, or is that did you make
CSA?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and they have, and you'll have a guy on board, right?
Well, I wonder why they make it like an hour, and you're not allowed to be like, I'll swim 2, you swim 1.
Yeah, I think you have to, and you're not allowed changing the order either.
That's good.
And we had an alternate on board, an alternate swimmer on board, which we never had to use, but I can't remember, there's some intricacy about that. But if you switch a guy in, I think you had to decide before you started to swim if everybody was going to swim. And if not, you had your alternate. But I don't think we were going to be allowed to, if somebody wasn't doing very well, you can't switch them out.
That's weird. I wonder why.
Yeah.
I would have thought.
Well, I think just the rules of the attempt, right?
Yeah.
So,
but you wonder what, it's not like you'd be, I don't see, if someone's doing a relay, I'm trying to think why they would have that rule. Because if it's like a relay, then what does it matter if someone's stronger and they swim? I guess maybe they want it to be equal, I guess. Because then it's because I wonder if some people would like take advantage of it and they'd be like, someone would be a super sick swimmer, like two people almost. And they do like 3/4 of it and they get one person to do like a little bit. Cause,
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was a while ago and I can't remember what all the rules were.
When was it you actually did it?
2016.
Okay. Okay, that's not true. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we were all just over 60. There was one person that was under 60, but then that was kind of the deal was everybody over 60. So, but, yeah.
And in the training to lead up to it, did you experience any like fatigue in training? Like, did you get to a point where you're like, right, I'm like each session's kind of, what's what I'm looking for? You get to that point where like you don't have the energy, but you're just like, we just need to just go through the patients.
Yeah. And that's happened in other stuff that I've done too, where you just, you get too much on your plate and you're not paying attention to the signs of overtraining or fatigue and stuff like that. So, but it doesn't take too long to kind of get yourself back together as long as you're not dug yourself too deep a hole, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's physiological signs too, like, elevated heart rate overnight. So there's a bunch of things that you can do. And that's stuff that we've done with our Ironman athletes. You just kind of, if you're not feeling too great, you kind of know what your baseline, heart rate is overnight. And then if it's elevated in the morning, then that's kind of a sign that you're doing too much, right?
And did you with running? So I remember when I did a marathon, my dad, he just said to me, remember the beginning of it, my calves all the time. Yeah. And he was like, you just need to run through it. Cause he was like, cause I was stretching and doing everything else. He was like, you just haven't yet built I'm trying to remember what he said, but I think he effectively was saying you haven't yet built the muscle or the endurance for this thing that you're trying to do. So you need to run through that. And is like with swimming, is there anything like, so actually, it definitely hasn't been like when I had it with the marathon, but my shoulders, those are the things where at the beginning of every session, I'm like, oh, maybe I just haven't warmed up properly, but those are the ones where kind of it takes a while. And then once they're warmed up, I'm good to go.
Right.
But was there with regards to the training, is there muscles that you're just at some point, these are just going to
get tired?
Yeah. Apart from everything, probably.
Yeah. Well, I've had rotator cuff problems. So just right at the very front of your shoulder here. I've had that in both shoulders. And that's one thing that, when you get warmed up, it goes away. Yeah. But then it stiffens up when you're out of the pool, right? So,
so I'm okay in between just now.
Yeah.
Which just makes me think that it's not
probably fine.
Yeah, it's just a warm up thing. But yeah, just from my experience of previous things, I do remember at some point, I just got to a certain point in the training and I was just kind of you say keep going. But I think also when I was doing these things when I was younger, I also wasn't that dialed in with the nutrition side of things. Mm-hmm. I was just kind of honestly, just eating how I normally eat prior. But then I'm now taking on this triathlon or Ironman or whatever the thing may be. Even with the ultra marathon I did 2002, so 3 years ago. Even then I was still a bit naive when it came to the nutrition. And that race made me be nah, this is equally, you also need to not train the nutrition, but I don't know what I was thinking. I thought the training, I don't know why I wasn't fueling myself correctly, but anyway, I figured it out. And then, but yeah, so you were so the muscles, you're just going to have the nettle shoulders.
Yeah, you'll get sore. And, but there's, physio, massage. I find stretching really helps.
Yeah.
I've had trouble with both of these areas. And the thing that I found is at the edge of the pool, just stretch like this, put your hand up on the edge of the pool.
Yeah.
And then just relax. And then that's a really good stretch for here. Yeah.
And you just try to get your hand, I feel, if I get my hand higher, it gets...
Yeah. And then like you can sink down into the pool a little bit more. So you have really good control about where that is there.
Yeah, I know.
So that's what I do after every swim, is just to stand there for maybe a minute and just kind of play around with the position and let it stretch out. Because I started doing that and it's been much better. So it's just part of my routine, and that helps. But there's, again, online, there's all sorts of, the 5 most important stretches for a swimmer type thing. And that's really good to have that. And just, when you're younger, it doesn't make that much difference. But when you get to be where I'm at, it's important to really think about it and just find the things that work for you and just kind of build them into your routine and experiment with it, right? Like, well, this doesn't seem to do anything, or do it a little bit differently, or go to somebody else's list of the best 5 and work one of those in and just experiment, right?
Yeah, with the kind of back issue that I was having, like, this is since like January 2023, which literally the last 2 weeks I've like finally got on top of, was, I think it was like it was a lack of core stability. But what I was doing was, I was like, cause I come from the stretching mindset of like, something sore, stretch it. Yeah. So I was like stretching. And then I remember reading this thing that was like, effectively it was like, don't stretch, but strengthen. And not like strengthen with like heavy weights, but like just strengthen with like core exercises and stuff like that. Yeah. So I remember being like, but surely you need to stretch. Like, I was just obsessed with it for whatever reason. And I stopped doing it, stopped stretching. But, like, still stretching my shoulders, but stopped stretching, like, around my hips and my legs, like my hamstrings specifically. Get the core exercises, and it's honestly, like, in a couple of weeks, it's just, after what has been probably like 2 years, of doing everything wrong. Like, it wasn't like I kept doing the same thing. I tried this, and I didn't work. I tried this, and then, I went to the doctor, blah, blah, blah. But finally, I've kind of done it. But yeah, to your point of, like, just everyone has their top 5 things. Yes. That's kind of what I did the last couple of years, and then I eventually found this thing that really helped. And I think swimming again has kind of like helped it, because it's, I guess I would assume it's like obviously quite a lot of core, like when you're swimming. Yeah.
Like if you've done a long set with lots of pulling in it, you should feel it in your core.
Yeah. I definitely feel it. I think I'm trying to think where I do feel it. It's probably like my shoulders just now. But again, like I feel like it's more just the beginning, and I think it is just a lack of warm-up. And then, with regards to, so did you have to do a 6-hour qualifying swim?
We did a 2-hour.
You did a 2-hour one? Is that because it's a relay? Is it different? Or,
yep.
Right, okay, cool. And how did did you have to sign up for a race that wasn't a 2-hour race? Is that?
No, you kind of self-reported it.
Oh, okay,
for me. And I just swam up in the quarry.
Oh, did you?
Well, and it was 2 hours in water that was 15 degrees Celsius or lower.
Right, good.
No wetsuit, right?
Yeah.
How
was that?
Yeah, so it was chilly.
It was chilly, yeah.
For sure. Well, because the water, the channel was, the warmest it got was, I think, 14.6 or something like that when we did it.
So the lakes around here, are they colder, I would imagine?
Oh, yeah.
Right, okay, sweet. So I guess.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you get used to quarry, you'll be just fine.
Right, okay. Well, that was going to be one of my questions.
Yeah.
So I remember last time you mentioned that, like, I think that you were saying that the cold did bother you. And my question was going to be, is there places around here where you can do cold acclimatization?
Yeah.
Obviously, you just said that. Yeah.
Quarry, dunk in the river every once in a while.
Yeah, no, I've been having cold showers with them. Like, what's a couple of minutes cold shower in comparison to like multiple hours an hour?
Well, a lot of athletes now too are, there's a kind of a, cold dunks if, get into a big dunk with ice water and just do a cold plunge, right? And that does, I think there's a lot of stuff that helps. But the big thing, and that's what I found too, is, your core starts to cool off.
Yeah.
And then then you start to shiver, and then you're in trouble at that point, right? And, So, and I think some people, well, on our team, was probably 50-50 people that were having trouble with the cold, even when you get out of the water, right? There's, what's it called? Again, I can't remember, but your body continues to cool off after you get out of the cold water. And then that's something you have to be very conscious of, be careful with. But with you, you're going to be in for 12 hours, say, right?
I hope.
Yeah.
12 hours.
Well, that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be great.
Only 12 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we did ours in just over 13 and a half or something.
Okay.
But we had a few people that were not fast swimmers. They were fine.
Holding you back?
Well, no, everybody swam at their own pace, basically, right? And depending on currents and all that sort of jazz, some, you'd swim give or take 3K in an hour, and some were quite a bit more and some were less because, when you leave close to Dover, you get hit by the current, like the tide currents, right? And we swam in this big, huge S shape.
Yeah.
And we missed, you sort of aim for this, point called Gray Point, or Gray Nose, I think it's called. And if you hit that, you're a couple of kilometers short. So that's the shortest way to get to. And we were about a mile off and we got pushed. So we had to swim a bunch more. So,
that's
all current related. There's nothing you can do about it, right?
And is the current is it kind of because if there's a current, is it quite reliable day to day, or on your day, the currents could be different? So you could be if someone pushes hard for the first couple of hours, we'll hit that current, but it might change. And
they do change, and that's part of the captain's responsibilities, right? Is to know they're tide related too, right? Because there's quite a narrowing. So there's a big North Sea and comes around the inside of England, and so as the tides go in and out, those currents push in or out. But sometimes they're not as strong as others. And depending on where you're at what time, they're, stronger closer to shore or as opposed to further out, right? Just because of the way the land is. So we were into, you'd think you were kind of aiming that one way and you're being pushed sideways. So you're just basically swimming. The boat's trying to do get the best advantage possible, and we're just sticking with the boat basically. Yeah. So whether if he's turning this way or that way, you just kind of follow the boat.
When the current, so with the currents and the tides, are you aware of it? In the sense of can you feel it? No. So let's say
no, because you're in it, right? Yeah. So it's the body of water is moving, and you're just swimming your normal speed through it.
So it's not like that. I mean, if I'm thinking more from the psychological point of view, it's not going to be demoralizing because I'm not going to know that I'm not going anywhere. No. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to think of, because I'm if I was going faster and faster and going nowhere, but I guess.
Yeah. But you don't have any points of reference. Yeah. So if you were to swim in the river here, you'd be swimming like a bat out of hell, and you're still in the same place relative to shore because you can see it. So in a channel, you're just swimming alongside the boat, and where the boat's moving faster or slower because of the current doesn't really matter because you're focused on the boat, and the body of water is moving you and the boat to wherever, right?
Yeah.
So
it
was, you feel yourself moving through the water.
Yeah. So you're I'm cruising here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay. And then with a couple of so there's obviously, I think it's the busiest channel in the sea, it's busiest channel in the world for boats. Do you see, is it just constant boats all over the place? Yeah. Is that weird? So I asked this question because I'm not and this is a second question, sorry to add on to this.
No.
Also, when you're looking down, can you see anything, or is it a kind of does the light go all the way down, or is it just murky and you can't see?
Pretty murky.
Okay.
You'll see the jellyfish and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, they freak me out.
But usually you're right upon them before you actually see them because they're not brilliant colored or anything. They're just sort of kind of a dull rust color.
Yeah, see through it.
And,
And then the boats are never close enough to you that you can like see them, I would assume.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they are.
Oh,
so you can see a boat. Could you see the boats?
Well, they're 100 meters away.
Also, I mean, under the
They're
water though,
closest.
could you see the boats like?
No.
Right, cool. Because I don't know why.
Nope.
For some reason,
No.
that would freak me out.
No, you only see them above water.
Right, okay, well,
But there's freighters and there's pleasure boats and the ferries and stuff, right? So
and is that kind of like, because with regards to like the monotony of it, like I know you're kind of in and out an hour, so it's slightly different.
Yeah.
But like, did that like provide any kind of like, oh, there's a boat, there's a, like sense of like
a distraction or
entertainment?
whatever?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Is it? Right, okay, cool. Because I'm trying to think that way. I'm like, because I've been training my headphones now, and I haven't asked the question, but I'm kind of assuming that like, well, one, I don't know if they let you.
Yeah.
But two, I'm like, also that probably would be a bad idea because then there's like, how do you communicate?
Yeah.
If they're showing at you to do anything, I'm listening to Katy Perry or...
I would hazard that you're not allowed to have them.
I'm not even...
And...
probably takes away a bit from the experience as well. You know?
Yeah. You'll have plenty of time in the water. You'll have lots of time to experience stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, we were like, they're very... even in the pictures, I'll show you what's the suits that we're allowed to have. But it's, their regulations are right down to the minutiae of how big the swimsuits are.
Yeah.
And so, I'm pretty sure that you're not allowed to headphones.
No, I can't imagine. Because I don't think Ironman you're allowed headphones either.
No.
No.
And that's safety stuff though, too.
Yeah,
right?
no,
if you're not able to hear stuff that's happening around you. It's a safety concern.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess that logic would flow into them not allowing you, like the channel association, not allowing you to have headphones because you need to be able to communicate with the boat. So
I actually remember I had headphones. So I did a 100-mile run. I had headphones with that. And in hindsight, it helped, but therefore I wish I kind of hadn't had them because I went through like, don't know if I said this to you last time, but I'd listened to music, I listened to podcasts, I chatted to people on the phone, which took away from the kind of like challenge a little bit. Like I know you're running 100 miles, so it's still a challenge, but yeah, definitely, for hours on end, I was like distracting myself. And again, like, I did it at the time for that reason. Like I wasn't like, kidding myself on that I was doing it for any other reason than that. I knew that, and that's why I was doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I look back and I'm like, kind of wasn't really, you're just like, just like losing hours, which was good. But I kind of took away from that a little bit now in my memory.
Personal preference though too. Like, my wife always runs with headphones.
Yeah.
And like a long, 2 or 3 hour training run, I pretty well never do.
Yeah.
I've tried it a few times and I just play something in my head or think about stuff or whatever.
Have you heard of that David Goggins guy? David Goggins is like an ultra marathon runner, but he's also like a former Navy SEAL. He's like, he's become one of these kind of like, high profile like ultra runners, I think. But he's got like a pretty hardcore attitude. And anyway, the reason I was bringing it up though is because what he does is, because he's now like personal online, he gets like a lot of like people comment on his stuff, like shit on him. So what he does is he transcribes all the like negative comments that people say about him on his posts or whatever, records that onto like an audio clip of some description, and then listens to that while he runs.
While he's racing.
Yeah, while he's running. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. To like, that's how
motivation.
That's his
motivation.
motivation.
I'm gonna show those buggers.
Yeah, I know. And if you ever look at his stuff, it makes sense. Like he's a very hardcore kind of like gentleman. But yeah, I thought it was quite funny. I don't know. I'm the opposite. I'm kind of like putting more like positive, YouTube clips onto mine.
You're wonderful. You can do this.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually in the gym, in the pool the other day, and I had my headphones in. And there's a guy who's been there a couple of times, and I was chatting to him about the headphones. I was like, they're amazing, blah, blah, blah. But I was listening to exactly the kind of thing that you just said there, which it was literally like, you can do this. And I was like, there's no way. Because normally I would be like, try them.
Yeah.
But I was like, my ego was like, there's no way I can let this guy know that I'm listening to this. Like, I believe, I achieve stuff. So,
yeah, but whatever works, right? It's
true.
These are big challenges, and you need to find out what works for you and, what's allowed. But, whatever, like, those are polar opposites, right? That guy,
Yeah.
Yes, negative comments about him from others is a motivating factor for him.
Yeah.
And
not be for me.
Well, no, that's it. Sit down right here.
I'd be deflated.
Yeah. But so the opposite works for you, right?
Yeah.
So and there's that spectrum. So, but yeah, it is. And that's, stuff what we've told with our athletes too. You have to find out what works for you, be it, the motivation, the mental, tips and, how do you, get yourself into the mental space that you need to be in, nutrition, what works, what doesn't work in terms of the kind of fuel you're going to use. So all those sorts of things are all very, very individual. And you can't just nonchalantly do it.
Yeah.
You have to get in there and figure it out. So, and it's hard to do. It really is because it's very hard to, unless you race a lot or do, the significance and endurance thing is a lot. Like race day is different from training days and that sort of thing, right? So there's still that kind of unknown, but.
Yeah, it was like what you were saying about, is it Jill, your wife?
Jill, yeah.
Yeah, Jill, like being like, kind of like, what's the words? Not comfortable in the water, so she's already, her stress level's already slightly higher. Like, I kind of know that from like previous races where like race days slightly, you're burning probably more energy because you're like more tense. It's more of a thing. Whereas, training today, like, yeah, it was hard, but kind of like, I was just like nonchalantly going through, I know I'm catching up with you later. So I'm kind of like, I'm thinking of other things, whereas the race is like, yeah, your energy levels, I would assume, are kind of getting burnt slightly more at the beginning anyway, maybe once until you've got through until you're in it, like mentally, you're like, this happening.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of what you need to, put yourself into that position too, as often as you can, basically, so you know how you're going to react. So, but, and even just the nutrition aspect, it's your body needs to be fueled, but your mind changes the way, you can get into a pretty negative spiral if you don't have enough fuel on board. And that's a mental thing, but it's a nutrition.
And with regards to the nutrition, like, is there anything so did you, when you were doing, I guess so, when you were doing yours, you just ate when you were at the boat. Yeah. So
hopefully kept it down.
Yeah. I know that.
Yeah.
Well, you heard of a book called Dover Solo? It's about there's a book called Dover Solo, and it's, I can't remember her name, but I don't think, she definitely wasn't the first woman to swim it. I think she may have just been, I think she just was a lady that swam it, like an American, like maybe in the 1990s.
Yeah.
And it was just quite cool because she kind of like chats about her training and then like the swim itself. But yeah, she was saying that I think she like ate like every like half hour. Which I guess obviously because you were in the boat doesn't necessarily apply.
Yeah, we didn't have to worry about that at all. So.
Cause I guess I might need time. Did you meet anyone who, when you were there, was doing it solo?
Oh yeah.
When you were over there? Yeah.
Lots of people.
Oh, was it? Yeah. And how many of them,
were successful?
Yeah.
Maybe half.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We met.
And was it?
Cause we got into we arrived, I think it was on a Monday. And our window opened on Tuesday.
Oh, so you got literally there the day before?
Yeah, we were we got there, and before we knew it, we had a ton, our swim time.
Oh yeah, because you were saying it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it was.
You were lucky that way.
Oh yeah, because they call them waves, but so you give them your week. And then you can get, I think it's, first wave through sixth wave or whatever, which gives you the timing of which boat goes first.
Yeah.
Or which boat has the ability to say, I'm going to go. So if if boat number one says no and boat number two says, well, I think we can do it, then they'll go, right?
So there's no multiple boats in the same weather windows? No.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because when we left, there was a solo guy left just about the same time we did. Yeah, and I think we hit the water I think we had to be on the boat ready to go at 3, and then we motored over a little bit it was to the west. I can't remember the name of the beach. Anyways, and I think we hit the water at 4:00 in the morning. So yeah, because it wasn't too long until we started to see the dawn coming. So.
Yeah. Was that quite a cool thing to swim into the dawn?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was very neat.
Yeah. I remember when I did the run into the dawn from like night to sunrise, and it was just, not the whole thing, but I remember there's a point where like, the sun has just come up. I was like, I think it was I never knew I could do this. I never ran through the night, ever.
Wow.
So I think it was less maybe the dawn itself and more just the like internal, like, wow, I didn't actually think, I guess I'd never explicitly said it out loud, but I guess I was thinking I didn't actually think I could do this, and then it comes. But I imagine swimming in the dawn, if the conditions are nice, would be pretty sweet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was cool, very cool. And when we did Catalina, we left at 11:00 at night, I think it was. Yeah, so we had quite a few dark swims, like people swimming in the dark. And it was cool because there was bioluminescence. So every time you put your hand in the water, it would go like brilliant sort of greeny color. And then the dawn, and of course we were in California, right? So the dawn came up, and it was just the contrast between what we did on the channel and what we did at Catalina was just
night and day.
We swam dead straight. It's almost exactly the same distance. And it took about the same amount of time, but our course was pretty well dead straight as opposed to being pushed by the tide and the currents. And the water was, I guess, so the channel was about 14 and a bit, and I think it was 21 or 22 in Catalina. So
I know.
This is wonderful.
When I did the Barcelona one, I was like 25, I think, and I had a wetsuit on, and I was like, I was actually too warm.
Yeah.
But it was the same. I remember stepping in, and I was like, this is like bliss. And it did make a big difference because, it's an added element of comfort, not being cold. But so when you go there, so obviously you were talking about the waves, you don't really know exactly when you're going to go, but so obviously I'm in a similar situation to you and I'm flying out there to do it. Like, how much time did you allow yourself, because are you like semi-retired?
Oh, well, I was retired at that point.
So you can, I guess.
I could go whenever I wanted to.
Were you planning on going as were you just going to stay there until you've done it? Or had you booked a return flight? And if so, like how?
We did book a return flight, but we knew we were going to stay for a little while.
Right, okay, so.
And then, if it went for because you're asking earlier if we talked to other people that had done it. And there was a guy, he'd been there for 2.5 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Like his window kind of came and went. And so he just hung around.
Oh, did he choose not to go when the window was?
Well, just the weather, he got withered out, right?
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
So, and that happened to the week that we had.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best time to go, but the weather was getting worse and worse.
What time of year did you go?
Sorry?
What time of year did you go?
It was July.
July, okay, yeah. God, it wasn't that good in July.
Yeah. Okay. I think you've already booked yours, but Elaine organized it. Actually, both those swims. And she's actually going again this year in...
Oh, shit. September?
2028. No, it's in June, I think. 26, I think.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so... But so they're going to try to do it with 2 people. So I think you can do it with 6 or 2 or so.
Right. Can do it 4. No?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So
I don't know. Yeah. So I know for sure you can do 6 or 2 or solo. Yeah. So it was a couple of years anyways ahead of time to get all the paperwork done and find the captain. And
I think I was like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Same thing. And so mine's in the first week of September. And I actually chose that. But because like the 100 miles was like September, the Ironman was like October, like they were all kind of that. And for whatever reason, maybe it's just out of comfort. Like I've kind of like enjoyed that time of year. But yeah, now like, I've also not lived in the UK for 5 years, but I've now remembered the summer in the UK is really like May, June, you know, and then the rest of it is just like a bit of a, well, it's not summer. So I don't know.
It's the non-summer, middle of the year. Good.
But yeah, so I was asking that because so I've got 2 weeks off my work. And so, yeah, I'll probably do the same as you. I'll probably try and get there like a day or two before.
Yeah.
And then just hope that it comes in that 2 weeks. But I mean, hopefully, I mean, I would say this to my boss anyway before I was to go. But like, you know, if it doesn't come, I probably would just stay. Yeah. Until, you know, if it was another week, I probably would just stay another week.
And I'm not sure if, you know, how that works, but that one guy definitely, he just stayed until he was able to.
Yeah, you trained all that time.
Well, yeah. Like, you know, you've waited the 3 years and I mean, just spent the money and all that sort of stuff, God, right? Yeah. So,
like someone said to me when I signed up, they were like, you're like, you know how much of an expense it is. And like, I thought I did. But, you know, again, like the fact that we live in a different country as well. So it's not just like, you know, if I was living in the UK, I would drive down or I'd probably live not that far away. Yeah. Whereas here, you know, you fly over, you get accommodation, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Like it is slowly, I know, on the nutrition side of things, like I'm slowly starting to get a bit more dialed in with that. So, you know, like vitamins, you know, protein powders, blah, 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 which I usually take anyway, but I'm not, in like normal day-to-day life, I'm not as probably stringent as I am with it now, because now I'm like, right, cool, let's like, so yeah, I guess what I'm getting at there is like all that stuff sucks that up, need buy a wetsuit, you know, need to, it's just stuff.
You're not allowed to wear a wetsuit.
Yeah, no, I know, but just Jordan was saying just for like getting started here, but yeah, so with the equipment, I'm assuming it's just goggles for guys, goggles, speedos, swim cap. That's it.
Yeah, when they give you a swim cap,
they give you one.
Yeah,
I got one will they give you one in the day? Because they gave me one in the mail. Is that the one I'm supposed? Yeah, that's probably the one back.
Yeah, it's like yellow and has Channel Swimming Association on it.
Yeah, so don't throw that out.
Don't throw that out. No.
Okay, I do actually have that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
bringing us a couple extras. Yeah, or whatever.
You can wear a couple. No. Are you?
I think you're only allowed to wear the one.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And so with that, like something I've been finding with the swims recently is like, so I don't know what you do, but I put my goggles on underneath my hat, which is sweet, but I've noticed that like sometimes in the longer swims, it slowly starts to like put like pressure on the back of my head.
Yeah.
Did you have that at all? Or I guess you get it on and off?
I always.
Or you just never had that?
I've never had that.
Right, okay, right. Yeah.
So they're maybe a little tight.
Yeah.
But I always put mine outside my cap as opposed to inside. But that's just preference, right? You look at triathletes and stuff like that. There's some have one, some, one way or the other way.
Well, maybe I should try the other way then, because maybe if I'm getting a little bit of pressure on it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you were saying they're too tight, but yeah. I think the reason I put them under was because sometimes I was, maybe worrying about them coming off, like from a wave or something. So I was like, I should probably get used to having them under.
Yeah.
And did you have any like goggles getting ripped off?
No, I didn't have anything.
Do you have like a nose? Did you have not right, cool? Because I had a nose clip and then I banged it because it was just annoying, really.
Some people wear nose clips. Some people have earplugs.
Yeah.
Or like wax plugs.
Do you allowed them in the swim? You know?
I'd never do it. I've never worn or had issues with my ears or whatever.
Exactly,
but some people find that the cold water kind of gets in your ear and then that bugs you. So they put, and most of the time it's kind of the opaque wax ones that you can stick in.
Yeah.
That's what most people that I've seen that use them use those.
Yeah, I've just got the rubber ones. Yeah. The headphones I got.
Whatever works, eh?
Yeah. Because before them I wasn't bothered, but I have them in now. I've actually burst both my eardrums totally late as a kid. And they're both fine now, but I guess I just have that little bit of uncertainty, So I didn't use them before, and then I got these headphones, they gave you a pair, and I've started using them. I'm like, maybe it's just my mind, but my mind's a little bit like more at peace with having these in.
Yeah.
Just again, maybe a little bit paranoia from having them kind of like torn in.
Well, no, but again, that's one of the things that you need to experiment with and make whatever makes you comfortable, right? So
I remember when I was doing the 100 miles, like the last couple of weeks before it, I was doing like the most unnecessary thing was, but it was all like mental stuff in the sense of like, I started buying like better socks. I bought those like calf sleeve things.
Yeah.
Cause it was kind of like, maybe to your point, is like, you get to a point where like, even like those slight placebos of like a mental thing of like, oh, this makes me feel better.
Yeah.
You know, it starts to kind of add in, especially when it's these crazy long endurance things. Like if you can almost like convince as long as you've done the training, obviously, if you can then like convince yourself also.
It's, like we were saying before, it's all those, the little mental tricks. And that's, if
Calf sleeves or whatever.
Color of your socks helps you to
do it.
Like, buy 2 pair, so, but it's like we have athletes that they have their little, professional sports too. They have their little rituals that, the team puts their hats on upside down, or they grow a beard or those sorts of things.
Yeah.
If it helps, it helps, right?
Yeah.
And if you're, some people are superstitious and some people, poo-poo that sort of thing, but whatever, like if it helps or you think it's going to help you, then why not?
Yeah.
So.
And then with the channel as well, so there's also the added element of, I don't even know what the word would be, like the cream, the goose fat, or whatever you put in yourself. Is that, you can see, did you do that?
I didn't use it because we were only in an hour at a time, right?
Yeah.
So.
Do you think that might have helped with the cold if you had? Or is that?
Probably does.
Yeah. Is that for more like chafing?
We all put on anti-chafe cream for sure because salt and stuff in the water is a little bit more abrasive than a pool, right? Mm-hmm. So if you, and you don't have a wetsuit or anything to kind of help with that. So I use the stuff that I use in Ironman races and stuff. I just use the same thing, but slathered it on pretty heavily.
So were there a couple that did do the whole like full body?
No, we all just kind of put it on kind of chafe points. So, but, like the women all put it in any place where like the straps of their suits and stuff like that, they made sure they had stuff in there.
Did you find like in like your mouth as well? Did you have to like have mouthwash or anything to?
It's nice to have something. Like I think a few people put on like a lip balm, like a, it's a lip balm, like a beeswax or whatever. Or
because that book I read, that's where the women did. No, sorry, she didn't do that. She did something else where she did something else for the channel swim, but like late. But she said like swims after that, I actually found the mouthwash was the best thing to do. And I guess, so you were also would have just fueled when you got on the boat. There was no need for you to get food when you're in the water.
No, we never did. So we had, a couple of coolers full of stuff, like snacky stuff that people wanted and, some Gatorade, something to be able to kind of, cause you're going to take in salt water. There's no question, right? So you need to have something that's going to help rinse your mouth out, but also can, taste good and kind of, quiet that reaction, if you will. So.
Yeah, I kind of, if I try not to think about it because it sometimes disgusts me, like with public pools, like how much just whatever is in that water is coming, like going in and out your mouth as much as you try not to let it. Because usually it doesn't bother me because I don't think about it. But then, like, you'll be swimming and you'll see like a plaster on the bottom and you'll say, oh, sweet. I guess that's sweet. Like a good and a bad thing about the Sally B pool, training in Banff is like honestly, their clothing must be like incredibly high. So I see that because I've got this silver necklace and it's like completely blackened for like I clean it and then like 2 weeks later it'll be completely.
Oh wow, yeah.
But I guess maybe a saving grace of that is because of all the it gets rid of all that gunk. But public pools are kind of gross. But and then did you have anything on board? So you were chatting about like goggles and all that stuff, some coolers for the food. Was there anything that you like, anything extra you had on board, or was it anything that you didn't have that you're like, oh, I actually wish I had this? Bless you.
Thank you. Change of clothes. A couple of change of clothes.
Okay.
another suit.
Yeah.
Because we were going to in and out. And if it was going to be, especially the women getting back into a suit that was wet and chafed or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So they had to change a suit. And I wore the same suit. There wasn't much to the suit, so it was easy to get on and off. But lots of warm clothes.
Okay.
And some towels, snacks. A couple of people had an iPod or whatever.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
Yeah, just to listen to music.
Yeah.
Because you had, we hadn't slept the night before.
Yeah,
we were up early, and you're really trying to, probably the first half, everybody's excited and you're cheering the other swimmers on, and then you realize that I haven't really slept in. And we had only been there for...
Oh, you got jet lag as well, probably?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we hadn't slept on the plane. Right? So it got to the point where everybody's going, oh, I think I'm just going to have a snooze. And, they'd bunk out in a corner someplace.
Yeah. That's a good point, though. I never even thought of that. Like, because I don't sleep on flights, even if it's overnight. And also, the jet lag. I guess I'd never thought about... I never actually thought about that.
But you're so jazzed, right?
Yeah,
you kind of make it through. And I think everybody was fine, like I said, for the first half, because, it was dark when we started and the sun came up and you're seeing on the boats and it's all, wow, we were actually doing this and stuff. And then the fatigue sort of and jet lag and fatigue sort of started to settle in, and people then took kind of cat naps and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was very, once we had completed and it was 2 or 3 hours to get back, to get the boat from France over, right? And we motored, but people were just, sitting in the cabin, and it was blowing like crazy and it was cool. And so everybody was kind of finding shelter, and you could just see the, eyes were kind of closing and people were slumping on each other and stuff. So,
and how did you communicate with one another when you were in the water?
We had
a whiteboard, or
exactly. Okay, we were kind of designated each other to say, okay, I'm the timer. So we had it was a little whiteboard and just in quarters. So we 15 minutes you fill it in the first quarter, and at 30 you'd have half of it fills, and still you just kind of held it up, and everybody's doing the thumbs up thing and stuff. And so when we just sort of made the rule, I guess, that if, when you saw, you acknowledged, like just a wave of the hand or whatever, you acknowledged that, okay, I see my time. And
was that to help you? Was that just purely so that they knew what they were doing, or was that because you're like, we need to keep this pace?
No, it was just so we knew time. So how long? Because it was.
Oh, because you get no clock set of time, really?
No.
Yeah.
Without stopping, watch. So we figured that would be a good way to go, and it did. It worked quite well.
Was there any times that you were swimming and you're like, that flew? Oh, hey, Jill, grab a seat. You want to join?
I thought you guys might be done.
Did you do your upstairs stuff, Dave? Oh, wow.
Are you guys, Ginny, are you in a rush?
No.
I've got a long list of questions. Yeah. Well, I think we've kind of gone through quite a few of them, but yeah, I guess so. You were saying there with the time. Were you part of the relay as well?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, you weren't, right?
No.
Did you go?
Support person on land drinking wine.
Oh, they went on a wine tour.
So I guess a question I was going to ask was support people, like, was there anyone on the boat that was like a designated, like, first aid person?
The boat guys.
The boat guy is, right? I was thinking that, because I've got it's me, my dad, and a couple of my friends.
Yeah.
None of them, I think, have first aid training. So I was kind of like, I was just wondering, I wonder if I need to get someone, which I can, because I do have a friend that is actually first aid trained.
Yeah. You could check with the channel. I would think that the observer is first aid trained.
Yeah.
For the channel, for the English channel crossing there was one observer, and then there was 2 guys on the boat. And then there was the 6 swimmers, and then we had Chris and Al. So we had two people, like husbands of 2 of the female swimmers.
So that's quite a lot of people on the boat then.
Yes.
Yeah. And but we were restricted. That was the maximum we were allowed to have.
Yeah.
But then when we did Catalina, there was what, 20, 21? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And we had it was a very different boat. And, the Bottom Scratcher, I think was the name of that boat.
Yeah, because I initially, when I signed up, I was just like throwing invitations out left, right, and center to my friends. And then I chatted to someone, I don't know if it was maybe yourself actually, but I chatted to someone who was like, yeah, you don't actually want like a ton of people in the boat who they're just like kind of, aren't helping because it's just like kind of confused off. There's like too many people, like, so that person, maybe it wasn't you, but they were just like cut it down to like what you need. You need like like 3 people, like communication, like food, like someone's maybe like getting stuff ready, the other one's giving it to you, the other person's communicating with the captain. So I had to like actually reach out to people and be like,
did I ask you to go?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like my girlfriend's coming, or I think she's hoping to come, because we're obviously here. And I said to her, I was like, I don't know if, you could come on the boat. And she was I think she was a little bit gutted, but I think she obviously understood. Mum was the same. I'd said to my mum, and I had to like backtrack on that a little bit, but they've done like a bunch of, mum and dad have done like some Irelands and stuff as well. So I think they can understand that it's like, it's more about you getting the thing done as opposed to them sitting there. So my mum would probably be drinking a bottle of wine on the board if she could get away.
Well, and again, it'll be very different for you because you're going to be in the water the whole time.
Yeah.
And when we did Catalina, it was a much bigger boat, a lot more room. We had 3 kayakers, right? That took turns because we had a kayak, like I was saying, we had to have a kayaker in with the swimmer all the time. Yeah. And then we had 2 observers then. And then there was a cook and captain, 2 crew. So it was 21 or 22 people on boat. But the boat was
large,
more of a tourist boat than a fishing boat.
Yeah.
So, because the other one, the English Channel one, it was basically, we were trying to find a place for the 6 swimmers and the two others, like amongst fishing gear and, spools and all that sort of jazz. And then there was, the 2 boat people and the observer were in the cabin basically the whole time.
Okay. And I think you were kind of also saying with regards to like the monotony, so that's something that you probably didn't get because you're kind of coming in and out.
Yeah.
Because I've got my little list of like trying to think, and you were trying about like having like mental cues as well, so that like if you were kind of having like a tougher moment, because I actually did something in a triathlon like again like a decade plus ago where I was just having a panic attack actually as well, and I just flipped onto my back and just started doing the backstroke, which helped. But it was kind of funny because they had told us in the pre-race thing, they're like, if anyone's having any issues, like go on your back and put your hand in there. So, which is what I done. Granted, I was swimming. So I think there was a guy in a kayak, one of the safety people who came over to me. But then I think he was like, this guy he kind of looks like he's panicking, but he's not stopping. Yeah. So he just stayed. I mean, it was super short. It was a sprint triathlon. Yeah. So I think it was like 300 meters and I had maybe 100 to go. But yeah, it was kind of funny. So yeah, I guess, did anyone have any? Like, is that kind of just what you would do if you had that?
No. Like, the only close to panic part that we had was on the Catalina swim where the first swimmer, again, it was dark. And she was maybe a third of the way into her swim and she saw this big shadow.
Yeah, you said.
So did I tell you this?
You said, but yeah.
So
that's terrifying.
She had to have a bit of she had a chit chat with herself. Because it was like we were half an hour into a full day swim, basically. And she said, if I get out now, nobody's going to, because then they just shut her down, right?
Oh, so she didn't.
Yeah. If you get out of the water, you're done. Like the whole thing's done.
Wow. That's quite.
They turn they turn around and they go back home.
So I think you mentioned that someone else had kind of spotted it on the boat, but they didn't know whether it was like a dolphin or something, or a shark or something.
Yeah, it was a dolphin.
It was.
Yeah, because after that, I heard them blow on.
Yeah.
So.
And do they have like, I would naively assume that the boat has like radar technology, but I'm not a boat person whatsoever, so I haven't got a clue.
Well, yeah, they do.
That's what I'm kind of convincing myself. I'm like, surely if there's a not that you'll get in the channel, but I'm like, surely if there's some horrible animal. Okay.
The English Channel, there's no horrible. There's jellyfish and there's some like mammals, like a dolphin sort of thing, but they don't bother. It's not sharks or anything. And Catalina has sharks for sure. And so we had a shark bracelet on the kayak. And that's part of the reason why the kayak was in the water and the swimmer stays close to the kayak. And, so that's what Elaine thought in her head when she saw that shot. She went, "Oh shit, a shark." But, it turned out it was a dolphin. But I don't think we communicated that to her. Cause I remember I was standing beside the observer and I said, "Did you hear that?" And he goes, "What?" I said, "I can hear something blowing." So that's a dolphin as opposed to a shark because they don't blow. But 2 weeks, I think I probably told you this, 2 weeks after that, there were a couple of guys kayaking around Catalina and a great white came and bit the back of his kayak.
That's terrifying.
Left a couple of teeth in it and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're definitely out there.
They're definitely there, yeah. So I think I saw on the news in the north coast of Scotland, like last week or the week before, there was orcas, which kind of made me say, I wonder how far they would go. Like, I mean, the channel's not that far from the north of Scotland. Like, I don't know if they would go down there, but
they're generally they don't predate. Normally, they don't predate humans.
Normally. And then with the so when you're in the water with the boat, we were kind of chatting already about you don't have a point of reference. Is your point of reference just the boat? You're kind of just like wherever they go, you go.
Yep. Pretty well.
So
because we actually had that. I remember John saying, that's where I'm going to swim to. So he was fixing on a point of land, but because of the currents and stuff, you have to, and the boat said, no, the captain just said, you just stay with the boat, and that's what I'm here for. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Just don't get off course.
Could you see land? Like at any point? Or you can,
yeah.
And was that any
was it helpful?
Yeah. Was it helpful? Yeah.
I don't think it was.
Nah.
Other than the fact that, you're not out in the middle of an ocean with nothing around you, right?
So I guess
so it's
a long way.
It is a long way, and you when you're in the water because of the swells and stuff, you can't really sight on it or see it that much. But when you're on the boat, that was point of reference, basically, right? But when we got closer, that was inspiring, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, because I could
be able to, because quite like Dover Cliffs, there's a comparable amount on the French shore too. So it's quite high. And so that was, motivating, I guess, to be able to see that. Yeah.
I was thinking like psychologically, like being able to, granted it's super far, but I'm like, if I can see it, it seems less daunting than like, if it was just like not there and it's just, I would think what you just said there when it's just like open ocean. I know this is the ocean, but I think, if I can see it, I like just that mental thing in my head, I'd be like, right, it's there, granted it's going to take me a while to get there, but it is there. And you were saying, so did you see, you got some like videos and stuff like conditions?
Oh yeah. Do you have more questions?
I think we may have like actually gone through it. I'll double check them here, but right, so we were chatting about simulating the open water conditions.
Yeah.
Night swim. Did we do any cross training? How did you do the qualifying swim? Did you experience any training fatigue, muscle soreness? We already went over.
Yeah.
Did you eat? And I kind of got more nutrition stuff here, but I kind of obviously it's hard because you were just doing it as and when on the boat.
I think that's something that I don't have experience in. Like an on land Ironman takes you about the same.
Yeah.
You're going to swim it in 12 hours, so that's good. It takes about the same amount of time.
I like that, yeah.
And, that's...
You fueled on Scala.
I did, yeah.
And did you Did you have anything specifically? So I have, just from the stuff I've done, I have done the whole, like, tried everything. But, again, most of that was on land consumption. Even the Ironman. Yeah. And is there anything that you noticed, like, swim-wise that you were like, these things for me were like really good product-wise? Like any brands and that? I had those honey stingers in the beer.
Yeah. I like honey stingers.
They're so sweet though. I was so
Yeah. Yeah. Can't remember what I used when we did Scott. Well, Scott with Jill was in the kayak, and that was
Solid gels.
almost 12K. 3 and a bit hours must be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a kind of planned a fueling stop halfway. But then, and I stopped and you had the gels with you and stuff. And then we had some fluid.
You should have fluid, right?
So we had fluid, right?
Right. Okay. So when you have a gel, have fluid as well.
Yeah.
Like,
So
is that just to help it go down, or why is that?
It's too sweet and to get into your stomach through the stomach lining,
Okay.
your blood flow. So it should be diluted. So what you could do is put gels into a flask with water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then have them give you the flask and then take that because you get some fluid as well as the gel.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I think, again, there's lots of stuff online about, what people have used to fuel. But as I recall, most of the time it's a bottle and it's a fluid.
Yeah.
It's easier to get through. Well, because you're in salt water, so you're going to get dehydrated. So you're going to have some fluid on there. So you might as well have fluid and energy in the same go, as opposed to, hand me that chocolate bar sort of thing. If you're, because they can't touch you. So it comes out on a pole and you're not allowed to grab onto the pole. So, so I've seen some where they just, they'll toss the bottles on a rope and they'll toss it at you sort of deal, and then you can have it and they can retrieve it. So
Jordan was telling me, he was like, have like a bottle, but he was like, put like a third of maple syrup in it with Himalayan salt. Which I did, but I did with a bottle, not this one, but an algae bottle. So it was like that much, probably like that much maple syrup.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a lot.
Did you like it, or was it too sweet?
I was probably maybe a bit too sweet. I honestly and is that right? Would you put about a third of it in? Because I was like, I literally was pouring it in, and I was like, that seems like
that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of calories.
But yeah, it was. Did it help? Well, you know what? When I did it, I wasn't a long swim. He told me, and then just the next day I wanted to try it, so I was just doing it on a shorter swim. So yeah.
But again, that's the same, like we were saying earlier, it's very individual. And if you find, and maybe it's a quarter of a bottle of maple syrup that works for you, right? But you need to think about, okay, I'm burning this many calories. And you're not going to be able to take in or absorb the amount of calories that you're going to burn. And you're going to burn more calories because it's going to be cold, right?
Yeah.
So, so you're going to want to pull on,
silly amount,
300-400 calories an hour or something like that if you can stomach it.
And I think I could. And I think with when it comes to the race day, I think I would just suffer through the inconvenience of the flavor or the strongness of it. But yeah, I guess when I'm training in the pool, it's about like sitting in, but
you do have to train your stomach to take in that volume.
The
volume
that's true.
and the sugar. You have to train by ingesting it that much.
Yeah.
Then you may find a point where it's just too much. You feel a bit nauseous, and that's sort of your tipping point. That means you can't take more calories than that down.
And it's good to have two different things too.
Yeah, and even
you can go like I'll have one bottle, or I'll have a half a bottle of this, and then whoever's your nutrition person will switch it out and do it. Even if it's just a different flavor.
Flavor and texture.
If flavor fatigue is a problem, you can just add maltodextrin, which has no flavor.
Yeah.
And that's your sugar, that's your carb, no flavor. So that might be a good thing.
Cool. Right, so what that was, the next question was, did you, was just like GI issues and nausea, and you kind of said that from just the swimmers, from the...
Yeah, it was a bit of a blessing to actually get in the water. So for three of us were having, and that's the other thing. People do get seasick when they're swimming, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to think about. And you can buy patches, that have anti-nausea stuff in them. Some people have those little bracelets that have like a pressure point on them.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of things to kind of play with there too.
And did you have any, like, for pain? Did you take any, like, pain medication now?
I didn't. No. I'm starting to now.
Yeah, no, because I know that someone said that, or this book, I read a book called Over Solo. And the woman in that was kind of chatting about that, where I think I don't know, I can't remember what it was, but she had something that she had trained with, where she's like, I knew if I take Tylenol, say, it was fine.
Yeah, like an Aleve or something that's an anti-inflammatory pain medication.
So then it was, how'd you prefer for the cold? It was kind of covered.
Yeah. I shivered a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, the next one is, did you experience hypothermia, which you kind of said you were kind of.
It was funny because I didn't feel cold, but I was shaking.
Yeah.
So I didn't, and it wasn't like a shiver when you're standing outside here in the wintertime. Wasn't that, but it was like a deep, just, you know, and you're just, my hand was doing this. I don't know if I have a video in here of me doing that or not. But you kind of talk normally and stuff like that, but your body's just shaking, right? And
was there anything, like, did you find, like, the amount of swimming you did in cold water prior to that? Do you think you could have done more to mitigate that, or do you think that would have happened regardless?
I think it would have happened regardless, because there's, yeah. And one of, like, the youngest person was female, and she was not a slim girl, but the cold didn't bother her one iota. Like, she was comfortable in the water. She got out and that was great. And she'd stand around in her bathing suit, and it was a cool day.
So she is probably more brown fat.
Yeah. And did you, like, with that, did you try and put on any more weight prior?
I allowed myself to put a couple of pounds on. Yeah.
Did you run it by Jill first? You're like, do you mind if I...
No, I don't think she really noticed any difference.
I guess that's just a case of, like,
you
just eat more, like, oats or whatever you have for your... Yeah, because I probably wouldn't try and do that. I think put a little bit more weight on, like, fat, obviously, to try and do that. And then, so we were chatting about gear, communication with the crew, and chatting about what time you started. We were chatting about other people that you met who were doing it solo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, accommodation. Where did you book your accommodation?
Yeah, we had a B&B.
Did you? Yeah, did you just Airbnb?
Sorry?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
The little place.
Alfie or whatever.
And did you just find it online, or did anyone,
Again,
Elaine
that kind of organized it. She said, I found this great.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, I think we rented the whole place, Because everybody...
No, we each had a room. There may have been...
Oh, yeah, no, but Alan and Elaine stayed up the road a bit.
It was a great little spot.
Yeah. I'll probably be able to find it, but because I know Elaine I think she's going to stay there again, because I think she connected with us. So it was a mom and dad, and then their son was just starting to learn to take it over.
Well, if you do, let me know, because that's what that said. So the next question also, these two things are the final pieces that I've not yet done. And insurance. Did you get insurance for it? You just do?
We had just normal travel insurance.
Just travel insurance, right? Good call. Right, yeah.
Well, I had like travel, medical, and like trip interruption insurance.
So you didn't need anything specifically like I'm swimming the channel insurance?
Yeah, I don't recall.
Right, cool. I think,
You could check with your provider and see if they have a rider that they could put on for something like that.
Yeah.
They may not understand.
Yeah, they'd be like, what?
You're doing what?
Yeah. Right. They're like...
There's no riders for craziness.
They'd be like, you don't need insurance for the ferry ride. And you're like, no, I'm swimming.
Ferry.
Could you not find a boat? And then we were chatting about... So our question was like... I guess like just mentality. You were talking about like you kind of had some mental techniques and stuff like that. Monotony and pain, which you kind of covered. Conditions, which I'll have a look at, and then jellyfish, seaweed. Was there a lot of seaweed? Was that?
No, it was
too cold.
There's lots of stuff in the water, but nothing that was like big that you'd run into or whatever.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
Is there any like rubbish?
Floats them and dips them around.
Oh, really?
Sort of deal,
yeah. And then, so navigation, which you kind of covered.
Stay with the boat.
Stay with the boat. Equipment, so like speedos, goggles.
Yeah.
So I think chafing, we were chatting about the creams.
Yeah.
Then kind of gear, music, and then I guess the last kind of couple are just like, is there anything you would do different? And is there anything specifically to me that you'd be like, I would do this? Or I guess it can maybe the same question really. Is there anything that you're like,
I don't think,
because I've also got Jordan helping me with it. So with regards to the training side of things, I'm feeling pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But I guess it's more.
I guess if the question is, would I go and do it again? The answer would be no. Not that channel anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of been there, done that.
Yeah.
Cause we talked about, Elaine tried to,
coach you back into it.
Get us to go again. And, just no desire to do it again.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I'm usually like a one and done. Like I've done a couple of things and I'm kind of like, see, once I've done it, because I think part of the appeal of doing it is the fact that it's like, can I do this?
Mm-hmm.
And then once I've done it, I'm like, right, well, I know I can do it now. So like, am I just going to do it faster? Like, or do it, I don't know, like, which I definitely could, but I think I just don't have that motivation. I'd rather like try and be like, right, cool, let's try and do something else then there's a possibility of failure, because then when you achieve it, it's,
and I think it's different than, I see it different from like doing an Ironman or something, because we've gone to the same Ironman race a number of times.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot more to that, I think. But I see this, doing these big swims, kind of a little bit on a different level, like doing, like an Ultraman or something like that would be something that you'd really, in my mind, this is just me, I'd only ever do it once. I wouldn't want to say, okay, can I do it faster or better? Or what? If I didn't finish it, that might be different. But if I completed it, and that, I think I would be comfortable with a one and done sort of scenario on that sort of thing.
Have you done the Grizzly Ultra?
Yeah, 3 or 4 times.
Oh, that's right. Cool.
Yeah. And that is just,
I mean, that's fun because it's in your backyard.
It's fun. Yeah. And we help set it up. We know the guy that runs it really well. It's a good friend of ours. And
is it Tony?
Tony Smith.
Tony, right? Yeah.
And so, that's just something that we've done. We're going to miss it this year because we're away, but,
where are you going?
We're going to go to Scotland.
Wow.
Yeah.
To swim or to just?
Oh, no, we're,
Jill,
that's Jill. Yeah. Jill's mom wants her ashes spread where her mom and dad grew up. So we're doing that.
Just a
Boyne.
A Boyne?
Okay, right, cool, yeah.
Yeah,
well, that's amazing.
Yeah, so we're going to do that for a week and a bit, and then we're going to go to Kosovo, and Montenegro, Albania to do a 9-day hike.
Oh.
Yeah, so
and is it just the two of you? Yeah.
We have, Jill's brother and sister are going to come with us to Scotland, and then we're going to meet friends that are, we know from Calgary, that we've done a lot of European hiking with, so we're good.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so we'll go do that.
Well, I know everyone's been going on about how the weather's been amazing in Scotland recently. I don't know if it'll hold up till you guys do it, but
you never know.
Honestly, you don't. And that is the thing, you never know. That's the beauty of the weather there is like just get ready for everything. But apparently it's been really nice lately. Yeah.
Good. So that's what's up for our fall.
Nice.
I have a question for you. Or do you plan on taking caffeine?
So that is a good question. I'm not sure. So when I did 100 miles before, like run, and what I did when that was I rotated on the hour, and every hour I rotated between like caffeinated and non-caffeinated, with like obviously with other stuff as well. But what I noticed was I kind of got like halfway-ish through that race. And I didn't realize when I was running, I realized when I stopped at an aid station, my friends were there and they were like, you're absolutely jacked right now. And I didn't realize because I was running and then you stop and then you're just kind of like jittery almost. So from that point on in the race, I actually stopped taking caffeine, and I actually don't drink coffee normally.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a long answer. I'm not actually sure. Is there something that would you recommend, or would you? Yeah. I mean, even just to maybe have it in case I have those moments.
Yeah, I race. I do the longer distance races that we do. And caffeine is kind of my secret weapon.
Right,
because I don't drink coffee or tea.
Yeah, neither do
either.
I. Yeah.
So it's the tablets are 100 milligrams.
Oh, you just have caffeine tablets?
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll take one and when I'm switching.
I think that was my mistake. I was having it as a caffeine gel. So I was kind of like, I was thinking of it more as a gel than I could think caffeine, but obviously it has caffeine in it. So I think I would probably take them.
Well, and some of them are 20, a lot of them are like 20 or 30, 20 milligrams, but there's Morton or 100 kilograms.
Which is what these tablets have. So that's a lot.
Yeah. So I've done it both ways. I've done the Morton gels and then the caffeine. But the good thing about caffeine is it keeps you mentally aware, but it also kind of dulls the pain too, right?
But the alertness is really important.
Yeah.
Be sharp. Fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would recommend for... I mean, just generally, because I know you obviously don't know too much about me specifically, but like just generally.
I would say find what works for you for fuel.
Yeah.
And then save a few things for when you're kind of bored or...
Like a streamer thing.
Here. I guess a chocolate bar or something that you really look forward to.
Yeah, you can designate something like that as a
treat.
Be a treat like every 2 hours or whatever. Just so you have something to look forward to.
But mine is supposed to be very high in carbs for volume. And I know a lot of ultra runners take it because it's lightweight and it's a big bang for a small amount.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you would avoid having.
I know.
It's kind of stringy and it gets cut your teeth.
Well, and it's hard to get to, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing with the fueling.
Liquid would be best.
Yeah.
It might be nice to have some solids just to try. And I would try them out on the pool or lake and see how you manage a couple of solids just for a treat.
Yeah, because I think that's what, obviously because I did a solo, so I need like fuel in the water. And I think, again, that book I read over solo, the woman that she fueled every like 30 minutes. But she also was like, you need stuff that you could just drink, really.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to chew that much. Maybe as you're like, when you're like a chocolate bar, probably at some point would be like, give yourself an extra minute to, like, do that. Because she was like, you also want the fuels to be quite quick. Like, you don't want to be hanging around in the water.
That's right. I think for sure it's got to be mostly liquid.
Yeah.
But for a treat, like just something different and fun to do.
This is kind of as bad as they at this point, we're very close and we almost got pulled out.
So this is France in the background here.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
This was where the two currents met.
Yeah. So again, this is from a lack of like education and like not knowing. Like that doesn't look that bad to me. Like what was his reasoning for pulling it at that point? Were you just not going anywhere?
Well, yeah, I think he was concerned we weren't going to make it.
Right, okay.
And it was rough enough that it was tough to be on board.
Right, okay, so it's more,
and this is actually, these are 2 meter waves, right? So they're this big. And,
hard to say.
I mean, you're right, this person doesn't look like they're moving. I'm trying to look at this thing in the background and be like,
and it was funny because she gets pounded here pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, because every time you take a breath, you're, well, not every time, but you maybe get,
there's a big one.
Yeah.
Woo! That's a big one.
I see what you mean. And
she's also a 60-some-year-old lady, right? So basically, like I was saying, he was contemplating pulling us out.
Yeah.
And he was concerned from the very beginning because we were all older.
Yeah, you were saying.
And we were all we weren't ocean swimmers. We were, you're lake swimmers and you're getting on. And he was thrilled that we made it. He really was. He just thought that was it made his day sort of deal that he actually, and so he was really, at this point thinking, oh, what am I going to do? There's, they're still in fight. Yeah. And we were close, right? Super still, we're all pumped still and can hardly wait to get back in the water. And so he said, okay, well, we'll just go. And then once you get we got past this point and you get a little bit closer, then it calmed down a little bit, I think. And the stronger swimmers were back. Like the first three swimmers were the strongest swimmers. So, and this was the last swimmer. So he knew the next three in were going to be a little bit more likely to make it. So,
and so if he knew, so you were saying from the start, like he was a bit apprehensive, like why did he start if he was apprehensive?
I think he was, I think slightly apprehensive, but once he saw us swimming, I think he was settled it down. He said, okay, these guys they're going to be okay. And then it got to this point, and then, she got slapped around a little bit. And then I think he was concerned, and this was a lot rougher than when we started.
Yeah.
Right? So, but later in the day, and
I wonder if there's also like cause my girlfriend's Canadian, she's from Ontario, so she's from like the Great Lakes, they swam there. And, and maybe this is with the captain, but think, cause this is what I thought coming from the UK. Like, if anyone says lake to me prior to this, I would be like, yeah, it's a lake though. Like, it's not the open water. It's not, you don't get waves, you don't get this, you don't get that.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's a bit of a UK bias there where like, you don't think of the lakes as like, because the lakes in the UK aren't that big. Loughs aren't even really that, I mean, they are big and you do get waves on them, but like those are like the, way up in the Highlands, So I wonder if he just thought, like I thought, the lake swimming isn't really comparable to open water swimming, but then you also get the Great Lakes or just large lakes here that, or you were saying even Ghost Lake, that gets like a real, I like a kind of similar thing too.
Well, I've remember that one day I swam in Okanagan.
Yeah, we've had some really rough water in Okanagan. It's a big lake.
Yeah.
It gets big swells.
But but that's, again, that's what you're paying the captain for, right?
Yeah.
He has to make the call, and he won't. He knows that people have been training for years and spent a lot of money, and unless it's, it is the potential of having an issue is fairly high. I think he'd give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
and that's what I would expect of him, right? But he doesn't want anybody to get hurt. That's his, his reputation there too, right? But he's also the guy that we had. I think he was the most successful, very, very high percentage of completed swims and stuff. So he just knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And, so we were confident and nice guy, right? He's a rough fisherman type, but still he was, had a good heart, and he was, confident in his abilities and professional. So, yeah. But they all are, I think, because you have to be certified, and it's not like somebody can say, "Oh yeah, I get you across."
Yeah,
it's they have to have their certification and the certification by the swimming associations.
And they also, when I looked at it, it was the same as you. Like there was like 6 or 8 of them, and they all had something. Like one of them had like the quickest ever swims, and the other one had like the most relay swims, and then the other one had like the most like back to back, like they all, I did notice that like they all had like a thing that was their thing. So I think you're right. I think, and it's probably just personality type more so than anything that will change. But I mean, it's not going to bother me that much. I'll be the one of the wars. And I think my dad was so my dad's 79. And I think he was going, basically they're really fun. We did a lot of open water swimming together before I moved here. And I think he's going to do the last part of it with me if he can, leaving like at a kilometer or so. But I think, and this isn't necessarily a question, but if you know, let me know. I think if anyone's going to swim, you have to have a medical. So I think he may need to go get a medical prior to, even if he's going to jump in for the last little bit. I also might run these questions past the CSA. If they're like, no, because if someone jumps in some weird way that somehow has affected my...
you're quite...
I want to get to the pub and write my name on the wall.
Sorry, Dad.
No. And he would definitely, that was more, it was actually me that asked him. I was like, would you do this with me? But again, like I said to him, when I signed up for it, as much as I'm saying I asked a bunch of people, I only really asked people in Egypt, so I didn't tell like the wider world.
Yeah.
And then I said to my dad and that, I was like, just like, do me a favor, don't tell people, because I've just signed up. This is like 3 years ago, obviously. So it's, there's a lot of in between time that I was like, something may happen. And then the year before I knew it, my dad had like, oh, Tony from the running club, he said he'd do it with you. And Mum's got a friend, Suzanne, she wants to do it. And I was like, so I suddenly had all these people that I didn't even know.
Yeah.
They were like tagging along.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just had to say to them, I was like, sorry, but can't do it. When you're there, like, is there like quite a lot of people? I know you've already said there's a lot of people doing it, but like, is the town kind of like, is it almost like, people come there to do that? So is it kind of?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Like I think most people stayed right there in Dover. And we met in a couple of the pubs that we were, because we, like I was saying, we got there, we swam, we finished, we were done. So we probably had a week, right?
We had reserved a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we did, we went up to a couple of bike rides and wandered around and stuff. So
yeah, I think I'm going to try to take 2 weeks.
I think that would be plenty of time.
Because then, I mean, worst case, I would definitely extend it. Best case though, like obviously my family all live there, so I would just, scoot up north, or I mean, a bunch of them will obviously come down for it.
Yeah.
Be drinking wine on the shore. But yeah, if I have more time, then I would just probably scoot away.
There's not much to do in Dover.
No, I've never been. I mean,
it's quite a small little town.
It's a ferry port.
Yes, that was what I was going to say. But it's very busy traffic-wise because the traffic to the ferry cuts off the ocean from the town.
Right.
So there's back and forth. All the ferry traffic kind of. To me, it kind of
and
the ambiance of the town because it's such a busy.
Yeah, and it was like the motorway M4, I think it was. Anyways, you drive, like it's 4 lanes. It comes like right into town, and it goes right onto the ferries, right? Yeah. So it's like a 4-lane coachway that goes all the way right to the ferry docks.
Yeah,
and it's
Dover Castle was interesting, and the
we went
underground.
Oh wow!
There's kind of underground.
During the war, they dug into.
Yeah.
Actually, it was originally dug in during the medieval times. So there's this whole system of caves which were converted during the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was
the castle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is something that I've now appreciated, having not lived in the UK for a while. Like. Mm-hmm. Stuff like this, I'm like, wow, that is very cool.
Yeah. Well, we wandered around Dover for a couple, and then we went up to the cathedral, Castle.
Yeah,
that's it.
Christchurch.
No.
No, what was it called?
Canterbury.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun because we went up and we rented bikes and we rode back, and then we rode both ways, I think. Anyways. And then took a train back, and so it was we had a lot.
Yeah, I would say like it's pretty
around.
easy to get around the UK. Cause the trains, well, there are many issues with the trains. The trains generally are pretty good. So, it's obviously not that far from it. Like nowhere's really that far. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, look, I honestly appreciate it because I know you're taking your time out to kind of.
No worries. No, it was fun kind of reliving it.